Chapter 1. Wednesday dinner time. Later the same day after closing her last case. It was crazy to think how quickly this case had solved itself. And really, the recipe for success in this one was simply time. Time. Time for others to think about what they'd done. Time for 8-year-old Crystal to grow up to the age of majority and to choose her own future. Time for the brothers to continue their good work, as far as they were concerned. Time for others to act upon what they'd done and to continue with their evil processes, leaving more clues. And time for fear to grow within their hearts. Doreen stood on the front step, Muggs and Goliath at her side, Thaddeus on her shoulder, the cops still standing around talking with Mary, Crystal's stepmom, in the back seat of the cop car. She faced Mac. "I suppose Clara, Crystal's mom, was at the station to give you a statement, wasn't she?" "She arrived hours ago," he admitted. He looked at Doreen and smiled. "Will you be okay?" "Well, this one has a happy ending at least," Doreen said hopefully. "You will investigate Crystal's dad and the step-uncles, won't you?" His face sobered. "We definitely will. And we will bring Crystal back home again." Doreen smiled. "I can't ask for anything better." Just then, several neighbors approached, while some news vans pulled into the cul-de-sac. Within moments, cameras were rolling. Doreen groaned. "I guess this will never stop, will it?" "Not as long as you keep sticking your nose where it doesn't belong," he said cheerfully. She glared at him. "If a child gets to come home and several cases get closed, that's good news." Then she smiled up at him. "At least I didn't get hurt this time." "Good thing," he growled. "You still have stitches in your head from Penny. Could you please try to stay out of trouble for a while? At least until you heal." Just then, one of the neighbors raced toward Mac, allowing Doreen to sidestep Mac's question. Hello, police?" Mac turned to look at him. "Yes, I'm Corporal Mac Moreau. What can I do for you?" The man held out a paper bag. "You can take this away," he said. "Just a few days ago, I was working in the garden, and I know it wasn't there before then. But I did have somebody run through my yard last Friday night or Saturday morning. It was late but super early, I don't know. I was asleep and woke up to see him running," he said, the words spilling out of him so fast he was hard to understand. Mac held up a hand. "Slow down." "I didn't know what to think of it. I was really nervous." The neighbor appeared to be in his mid-70s at least. The small man with a wisper of gray hair on his head scrunched up his face into worry lines. Here, he said, shoving the bag at Mac. "Take it." Mac took the bag and looked inside. His eyebrows shot up toward his hairline and he said, "Where did you find this gun?" That's what I mean. I was working in the Gardenias, and I know it wasn't there before then. But after that man went through my backyard, I went outside to continue my work the next day, and I found it. I didn't know what to do with it. I thought maybe he would come back and get it again," the man cried out. "So I left it there. It's just me at home, and I knew nobody else would come and take it, but then when I went out this morning it was still there. I don't want it." "I don't want it," he said, backing up. "You take it." "Do you have a dark brown fence?" Doreen asked. "That runs along the creek?" He turned and looked up. Yes, that's my place. I see you sometimes walking there." She nodded. "I love that space. It's a really nice path along the creek." "Not anymore," he said. "Not anymore." He kept backing away. "Not when people throw guns into my backyard," he said. "This used to be a nice neighborhood." Out came his finger, and he poked it in her direction. "You're the one who keeps bringing all these nasty people here." She stared at him in surprise. "How is that possible?" she asked. "I'm the one finding and shining the light on all these nasty people who have been living here long before I arrived." He said, well then you need to find one more. You need to find whoever put that gun in my gardenia patch. It's really not good for the soil. He shot her a hard look and then he turned and left. Doreen looked at Mac and said in a conversational tone, I know who dropped it. He spun ever so slowly, looked at her and said, what? She beamed up at him. Maybe we'll have a cup of tea and talk about it on another day. I think I've given you enough work for right now. She motioned toward the chaos. Definitely another day. And she turned, called the animals to her and said, don't forget. We have a cooking lesson coming up in 2 days. Mind you get all your paperwork done before then, so you can enjoy dinner. With a big smile, she walked inside and closed the door hard. She leaned against the inside of the door and couldn't stop smiling. Muggs jumped up on his back legs, his front paws hitting her mid-thigh, and he woofed at her. She reached down and petted him. Goliath, not to be outdone, stretched into the exact same position. She slid down the back of the door until both animals could get at her. Thaddeus hopped up her arm to tuck into the crook of her neck. She cuddled them all and said, thank you so very much for saving me again today. And for caring about Mac. She knew the absolute joy of having all these tomorrows coming to her, even more so now that the animals had saved her life once more. Treat time, she said. The animals went crazy. She jumped to her feet laughing and said, you deserve it today, guys. You definitely deserve it today. As she handed out treats, she couldn't help but think about the gun in the gardenias, and the suspicions she had in the back of her mind. But that's tomorrow's case, she said, chuckling. Definitely tomorrow's case.